Hey guys, welcome back. I'm back with my CBN Monetary Policy meeting reviews. I just watched through and then say a few things about it. It's pretty much a learning process, but before I begin, after the 99th MPC briefing review that I did, I'm going to the next one, which is the 100th. It was done, the meeting was conducted 23rd and 24th of March 2015, and I am going to just try to understand the CBN monetary policy instruments before I go ahead with the video. I'll try not to have a super long video like the last one to 10 minutes max. But yeah, I'm taking this directly from veryvafrica.com article that is titled Understanding the CBN Monetary Policy Announcement. The MPR, monetary policy rate, is the key instrument of monetary policy for the CBN, which is the interest rate at which the CBN lends money to commercial banks. The MPR anchors all other interest rates in the money market and the economy. The 26.25% increase in MPR will result in an increase in interest on loans given to individuals and businesses by commercial banks, basically interest rate. Next, CRR is cash reserve ratio. It's the percentage of a bank's total deposits that must be held in reserve and not lent out or invested. It's a tool used by the CBN to balance money supply. A 45% CRR indicates that banks must hold 45% of their total deposits as reserves. I'll quickly make a comment about that. If I give 1 million to a bank, or 10 million people give 1 million to a bank, that's 10 billion if I get it right. Banks have a mandate from the CBN to hold down 450 million, 450, yes, or 4.5 billion of the 10 billion that they have from people. So the layman in me thinks, why is that so? If the money is mine, I give it to a bank to keep it, to trade with it with my permission, why should the CBN or the Federal Reserve tell them to hold something down? That's just a layman. I mean, there's a reason for it, to balance the economy, to ensure there's some contraction here, there's some supply here, there is balance. That's the point. But a layman is just asking, why is that? Liquidity ratio is the percentage of a bank's net demand and time liabilities that it must maintain in the form of liquid assets such as cash and sellable securities. A high liquidity ratio means fewer funds are available for lending, limiting economic activities and aggregate demand. So liquidity ratio is to essentially limit what's available in funding for people who want to borrow money to do a business. Essentially, we don't want to flood the economy with too much liquidity. The last one, asymmetric corridor. The figure here shows plus 100 slash minus 300. The asymmetric corridor is the range set by the CBN where interest rates can fluctuate in the short term. So it's the range for interest rates to adjust within a certain time frame. I would think. So that's pretty much what those four instruments will now help me understand what I'm watching more and more. And I hope I'm able to get it before I get to 3 or 4. I think the most recent one is at 3 or 4 now. So yeah, let's watch along.
Against the backdrop of harsh external economic environment and significant risks in the domestic economy. In attendance were 11 out of the 12 members, including Dr. O.J. Nana, who resumed duty as Deputy Governor of Financial System Stability at the end of January 2015.
Before I go on, I've just watched the opening statement of the briefing by the CBN governor at the time, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. Again, this is the 100th MPC briefing by Nigeria's central bank. He has identified some things happening around the world, global events that may or that necessarily affect the climate down here. He mentioned that the ECB, the European Central Bank, um, made available something in the neighborhood of 60 billion euros for asset purchase. Something has to do with assets that I don't really get, but I wanted to put that on record. And he also identifies other global risks.
However, remains subdued in most of the euro area and Japan in the short to medium term. Growth in emerging markets may exhibit wide variations with sharp decelerations in most of the large emerging market economies, especially in Latin America and Eastern Europe, due to the headwinds from softening commodity prices and slowdown in external demand from the advanced economies. In addition, country-specific risks such as political crisis, structural factors, adverse weather conditions, and large swings in currencies may continue to slow aggregate demand in a number of countries. Global inflation continues to be low due to declining oil prices and continued slack in global output. Core inflation has continued to sag due, among other things, to the dampening effect of low oil prices and lack of appreciable wage gains. Average inflation for the developed economies is projected to remain flat at 1.5% in 2015 due to the increasing output gap, weak recovery, and slow regional currencies. This development appears to be offsetting the risk of imported inflation in the emerging and developing countries, most of which have experienced moderate to severe depreciation in their local currencies. Developing economies are thus expected to have moderate inflation in the medium term. The committee
So moderate inflation is expected in the medium term for our economy. This was 2015 because global inflation was also in some places low, in some places flat. He identifies here declining oil prices at the time, early 2015, March 2015, as one of the reasons for low inflation in world economies.
That the outlook for global monetary policy suggests a predominantly easy stance. In the euro area and Japan are expected to remain in the accommodative mode. Even in countries where growth appears to be strengthening, like the US, UK, and Canada, there are indications of delayed switch to tight monetary policy stance. Owing to currency concerns, however, the committee further noted that some emerging and developing economies may experience moderate tightening in the short to medium term. Growth in sub-Saharan Africa.
So some more things that the CBN governor here identifies is that election spending, had an impact at the time on the economy, of course. Global declining oil price was also mentioned, and then insecurity and instability 2014 2015 was also something that was mentioned here. Again, it affects it affects food production, and these are problems that we've been dealing with for 10-11 years now. So
Broad money supply declined by 1.7% in February 2014 over the level at the end of December 2014. This translated to an annualized decline of 10.23% compared with the provisional growth benchmark of 15.24 for fiscal year 2015. The decline in M2 primarily reflected the contraction of 18.14 and 8.22% in net foreign assets and other assets, respectively, during the period. The fall in the net foreign assets is attributed to the combined effects of weakening oil price and reversal of portfolio flows. During the period, net domestic credit grew by 9.89% in February 2015, annualized to a growth rate of 59.31%, compared with a growth rate of 7.89% recorded in the corresponding period of 2014, and an indicative.
So one comment he made here, not comment, one of the things I said in the speech now is that the dollar is around 189, 190 to the dollar, 189 naira to the dollar, and that there is now a merger in the dollar markets, some type of collaboration, maybe black markets and official rates. I'm not sure that's what it means, but they made a comment to that effect.
As organization in the economy, a development which may significantly fuel the high demand for foreign exchange. The committee therefore reiterated that the naira remained the currency of transaction in Nigeria and the economy, and advised the bank to take all possible measures to address this development. The committee also expressed concern about the outlook for growth which has moderated partly due to the effects of low oil prices, naira exchange rate depreciation, and election-related concerns. The committee was, however, optimistic that the situation would improve once elections were successfully conducted with the expected improvements in business confidence. The committee took note that while adverse developments in the international oil prices had affected government revenues and reserves accretion and impacted negatively on capital flows, the financial system remained stable, with key banking stability indicators showing robustness. In light of this, the committee directed the bank to take all necessary measures to improve the resilience of the financial system as well as the overall economic environment and functioning of the financial market. The committee also took note of the administrative measures implemented by the bank since the last meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee to achieve stability in the foreign exchange market. The bank had, on the 18th of February 2015, taken the bold supply management measures to close the official window of the foreign exchange market in order to create transparency and minimize arbitrage opportunities in the foreign exchange market.
So another comment that I spot here is the restriction of or the management, some kind of policing of export repatriation, export revenues being sent in. The CBN also gets to keep an eye and fully manage that process. So I thought I'd highlight that as well.
Demand to continue to fine-tune demand management measures as well as implement appropriate supply enhancing strategies to ensure effective demand and utilization of foreign exchange in the country. The committee noted the gradual rise in headline inflation, driven mainly by exchange rate-induced high prices of imported food and output supply shocks. However, the committee was of the view that the prevailing tight monetary policy stance and some of the recent administrative measures will, among others, help to lock in inflation expectations and further stabilize the naira exchange rate.
Tight monetary policy. So that's the wrap. It has just finished. And then we'll take questions from journalists, and from there to go on. I'm not sure I did a really good job trying to understand this, but it's the second one. If anything, I got the fact that dollar at the time in March 2015 was around 190, 189. I think the previous video I did, it was around 170 less. So there's a 200 naira or a 150 naira increase from the first one. So I'm just going to wrap it up here and then look forward to the next one.